Joining us now from Capitol Hill, member of the Foreign Relations Committee, Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. Senator, thanks so much for being with us. We've had a couple of your colleagues on this morning, Ben Sasse and Richard Blumenthal, both of whom have met with Judge Gorsuch, the nominee to the Supreme Court, and said that he told them he was demoralized and disheartened by what he'd seen of Donald Trump and his comments about the federal judiciary. Senator Blumenthal going so far as to tell us this morning that Judge Gorsuch said, go out and tell the public what I've said in this meeting. What's your reaction to those comments and to them being leaked publicly?
You know, I think one of the most important things about Judge Gorsuch's elevation of the Supreme Court is that every Democrat voted for him the last time he was up, unanimous. So I guess the question I'd like to ask all of these people is what has changed? You know, he was unanimously voted by all Democrats, you know, to be on the appellate court, the second highest court in the land. I just wonder why they would all be changing their mind now.
No, I don't think Senator Sasse, for example, was changing his mind. He was just passing along a conversation he had with Judge Gorsuch, talking not about his own nomination, but about President Trump's relationship with the federal judiciary, using terms like so-called judges. Do you think Judge Gorsuch was well within his rights to say things like that to the senators?
I don't think I have any particular insight. I mean, you know, anybody can comment on the judiciary, whether they're politicians or not. Judges on the Supreme Court are human, justices are human, and I think people will make comments. But I don't have any particular insight to tell somebody one way or another that they shouldn't have an opinion.
So, Senator, anybody can make comments about the judiciary. President Trump is president of the United States. Do you think anything that he has said publicly or tweeted publicly verges on trying to delegitimize the judiciary? Does that bother you?
Well, you know, I think these same exact complaints were leveled at President Obama when he was lecturing the Supreme Court leading up to the Obamacare decision. So, you know, I think this is not the first time that a president has gotten involved with lecturing the judiciary.
Senator, if the number 2 State Department job choice for President Trump is Elliott Abrams, will you lead or join a filibuster to stop his confirmation?
Yeah, I will not vote for him, and I will be part of filibustering his nomination if he were to come forward. And the main reason is that I don't think he agrees with the president on foreign policy. You know, the president even this morning was saying that he disagrees with getting bogged down in foreign war and with nation building. That's exactly the foreign policy of Elliott Abrams. Chief architect of the Iraq War, also a big fan of nation building, also quite dismissive of the president throughout the campaign. It's sort of hard for me to imagine that a never-Trumper would be in the State Department, and so particularly one that's been very, very vocal and really disrespectful in many ways to Donald Trump.
Senator, it's Katty Kay here. I just wanted to ask you about repeal and replace. Are you concerned about the Republicans finding themselves in a position where you have repeal but no replacement, and you have potentially millions of people stuck in some kind of nightmare healthcare limbo?
Well, we do have a replacement. It's called Senate Bill 222. It's my bill, and we've put it forward. We're discussing it with all parties, including the White House. I'll be discussing it with Congressman Price in about an hour this morning, and I've discussed it with leaders in both the House and the Senate. We do have a replacement plan, and it is a consensus plan. It involves things that we have all talked about for years now: letting individuals join associations, letting people join a health savings account to help save, and letting people buy inexpensive insurance again, legalizing the sale of inexpensive insurance. These are things that really bring all Republicans together, and I think as we move forward, I'm still very hopeful that we vote on the exact same day for repeal. We vote on the exact same day for replacement.
So, Senator, were you concerned when Barack Obama questioned whether the court should rule one way or the other on the Affordable Care Act? And are you concerned now that Donald Trump questions the legitimacy of federal judges?
You know, I guess my problem is I can't control what is tweeted from the White House, and so I feel somewhat like I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, but you can control what you're concerned about. Are you concerned about that as somebody who claims to be a constitutionalist? This is pretty cut and dry.
I know, but Joe, the Constitution does not forbid the president from having opinions about the court, and so I do believe very, very strongly in the separation of powers, but I don't think that includes one branch not criticizing the other. It does include the checks and balances, and that's been our biggest problem here in Washington in recent decades, is there is no checks and balances. So if you ask me, am I concerned about a war going on in Yemen? Am I concerned about raids in Yemen happening without congressional authority? Absolutely, I'm concerned about that, much more than I'm concerned about what is tweeted or not tweeted.
All right, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, we always appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And that does it for us this morning. Stephanie Rule picks up the coverage.